In March, I was lucky enough to visit the beautiful country of Japan. So part 1 will include all of my adventures in Tokyo. Starting off with our Jetstar flight, we boarded JQ11, which was from the Gold Coast through to Narita Airport. I was sitting in seat 30A, which was right over the wing, which was covered in speed tape, I did observe. The flight actually took off on time, which was amazing for Jetstar. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I really did enjoy my flight with Jetstar. I found the customer service to be fantastic. The flight was smooth, there were very little bumps, and I really didn't have anything to complain about other than the view of that nasty looking speed tape. For lunch, I had a mac and cheese dish, which was exceptionally ordinary. I really enjoyed pressing the button for the window. This eliminates a lot of the glare from the sun and is a unique, nifty feature of the Dreamliner, which I was really looking forward to testing. This was my first flight on a Dreamliner, aka the Boeing 787, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Admittedly, there were a few bumps along the way. I absorbed myself into a Harry Potter film, which I've seen many, many times, but at looking out the window again, it was just continuous clouds the whole way. We dodged a few storms as well, as you can see there on the map, but did enjoy a beautiful sunset just in time for our arrival into Narita. Looking out the window, I did notice the beautiful Mount Fuji in the sunset, which was very picturesque and really set the scene for my arrival into Japan. Once we landed, it took a really long time to get through customs, so I was thoroughly exhausted. We stayed at the Rem Roppongi, and it was a very small but very lovely hotel, very clean and tidy. The next day, we woke up to a beautiful day in Tokyo. This was the view from the hotel of the Rem Roppongi. We caught the subway out to the Team Labs in the hope to go there. However, upon arrival, we did observe that the Team Labs exhibit was booked out until the Sunday the 19th. So while we were there, we booked our tickets for that day and then caught the monorail back into Tokyo. When we were in Tokyo, I could not resist going to the Pokemon Center. Now, the Pokemon Center was absolute heaven for a Pokemon fanatic like myself. They had memorabilia for pretty much everything, from plush toys to keyrings, Pokemon cards, souvenirs, everything you could ever wish for in this store, and oh boy, was I in heaven. This store is located right in the middle of Tokyo, and surprisingly, I managed to show a lot of self-restraint and only buy a few things. While out enjoying Tokyo, we stumbled across the Tokyo Dome, which seemed to have some sort of sporting event happening. We kept walking and around the corner came across these really cute little gardens. The Koishikawa Garden, which had lots of cherry blossoms blooming. I couldn't believe my luck. At this point, not knowing how many cherry blossoms were ahead, I posed for a ton of cherry blossom tree pictures. This garden was so peaceful and picturesque and really set the scene for Japan and what was yet to come. I loved the contrast of the picturesque gardens and the city skyline behind them, two very different images that merged so well together. In the water, there were these beautiful Japanese koi fish that were so tame I could almost reach out and pat them, and I was tempted. Overall, I would highly recommend this garden. So we just came out of the Koishikawa Gardens. I probably mispronounced that. But I got to see cherry blossoms, which I can't believe. I thought it was going to be too early to see them, but we did, and it was amazing. We then caught the subway, which is really quick and easy if you have a Pasmo card. And we hopped out of the subway at the Scramble Crossing in Shibuya. Now, this is a very famous crossing. It is just in a shopping district, and if you've never been there before, it will shock you. There are so many people. I was really impressed by the flow of everything. Everyone is very obedient. As soon as the light turns red, everyone stops crossing. There are lots of tourists posing for pictures in the middle as well. And I also just absolutely loved to watch the fashion. The fashion of Japanese women is just adorable. Overall, the crossing was an amazing experience. The next day, we headed to Disneyland Tokyo. Disneyland Tokyo marks my 5th overall Disney park and 7th Disney visit. I had my suspicions that the park was going to get very busy despite the fact that it was a Friday, and I was right. So with this in mind, we went straight to the back to join some of the rides, starting with It's a Small World. This, in my opinion, is a Disneyland classic and just really sets the mood. I am always impressed with this ride. The colours, the sounds, and it's, to be honest, really emotionally moving, passing through all the different rooms for the different countries. Another ride on my bucket list is Alice's Teacups, which always seems to scramble my brain. Just came off the Haunted Mansion ride, but I couldn't film in there because it was dark. After the Haunted Mansion ride, which, by the way, is my all-time favourite, we went on the Jungle Cruise ride. Sadly, the commentary was all in Japanese, so I couldn't quite understand it, but having done it in America, I did get the gist of it. After watching the parade, we went into the Buzz Lightyear Star Command ride, where I excelled as always. The ride just involves pointing your little zapper at the targets. We then had wine cocktails, and I observed that the park had become a lot more busy in this time. So the temperature's just dropped a lot. It's like 14 degrees now, so it's really quite chilly, but we've done 6 rides so far, I think. And after such a busy day, we went back to the hotel. The next day, we went up the Tokyo Tower to the main deck, which was about halfway up. We had fantastic views out of the lift as well, looking out over Tokyo. At this point, the weather was holding out, but it was considerably cooler than our other days that we've had in Tokyo. It was hovering around 10 degrees, so still okay to wear a hoodie. But however, once we came down from the tower, we did notice that the rain started to pick up a bit. We had lunch in Starbucks before heading over to the Imperial Palace, and that is where the weather took a turn for the worst. Nevertheless, we proceeded forward to our visit to the Imperial Palace. Yes, it was chucking down with rain, but that didn't matter. The scenery was absolutely fantastic. We loved walking across the moats, and we came across Cherry Blossom Island, which was an island filled with all the different varieties of cherry blossom trees. So you can imagine I was in absolute heaven, as half of them were blooming already. So I could not believe it. The rain would not hold me back. I was just loving it. Overall, I would highly recommend a visit to the Imperial Palace when you visit Tokyo. Feeling thoroughly wet, we went back to Scramble Crossing in Shibuya, and despite the rain, it was still really, really busy. I was just amazed at how cheap the alcohol was, and then we went into this mega store. Then we saw more of the madness of Scramble Crossing at night, and it is still completely mad. I just cannot get over the quantity of people. The next day, we went out to Shinjuku and walked through the streets bound for the gardens. Shinjuku had a completely different vibe to Shibuya, and I was loving it. Honestly, the vibe in Shinjuku was much better, more of a business vibe. And in the gardens, I found more of those cute little koi fish that looked like they wanted a pat. So this park had a massive lineup of what was about 45 minutes, which somehow we managed to end up at the front of. This park had a huge variety of cherry blossom trees, ranging from white to light pink to dark pink. So we're currently in the Shinjuku National Garden in the cherry tree area, and a lot of them have blossomed. It's pretty incredible to see because there's quite a few different varieties here, and it's so pretty. And of course, cue more cherry blossom tree footage. At this point, I observed that there were so many people in this park. I'd have to guess at least 50,000, and here was the line to get in. After the beautiful, tranquil park, we went to Harajuku, which was quite the opposite of tranquil. This place was absolutely crazy. I have no words to describe the quantity of people that were in Harajuku. I really enjoyed looking at the fashion of the Harajuku girls, but admittedly, after a while, it all did become a little bit too much, so we made haste for the Toyoso Pier. And as it turned out, Toyoso Pier turned out to be a hidden gem. We got to watch the sunset over the water, and it was so picturesque and so pretty, and we got to see the skyline. Next up was our trip to Team Lab, which we had purchased our tickets for 3 days prior. So to start off with, you are instructed to lock all of your belongings into a locker. I didn't know what to expect other than the fact that this exhibit had got really good ratings on Google. After walking uphill in this stream of water, we went into a room filled with dark bean bags, which was pretty torturous on the leg muscles. Then into a room full of these beautiful LED lights that came down from the roof. It was pretty trippy because they used mirrors as well. You just sort of got really disorientated with where you were. Then into more mysterious dark rooms. Then the next room, you were knee-deep in strange milky water, which turned out to be a room filled with beautiful lights which reflected cute little fish as well. Admittedly, it was pretty amazing to see. They really did a good job with this exhibit. The next room was filled with these bizarre balls that changed colour when you touched them. I was absolutely mesmerised by the colours and also very thankful that I didn't wear a skirt on this day. I just loved how the changing of colours could change the whole mood of the room. In the next room, you sat down on the floor and observed the dome above you, which had projected beautiful flowers all throughout that spun around the room and really took you to a different realm altogether. After that room, you went out to the garden, which was a strange room filled with beautiful coloured eggs. This room confused me a little. I'm not too sure what the point was, but the eggs were quite pretty. Now, the next room was probably my favourite of all. This room had hanging orchids. These orchids were hanging upside down, they moved up and down, and we were allowed through in small batches. As a lover of orchids, I could really appreciate this room. It was marvellous. Very clever, very pretty, and really fantastic to look at. I love the fact that all through Japan there are vending machines available all the time. Then we went to McDonald's for dinner before heading back to the hotel. The next day we checked out of our hotel in Roppongi and made our way to Tokyo Station to catch the bullet train down to Kyoto. Overall, I loved my time in Tokyo. It rates very highly on my list of cities I have visited, and I cannot wait to come back. While on the bullet train, I did observe Mount Fuji out to the right-hand side. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for part 2 where I visit Kyoto.